Hi, this is a video about the guitar solo on my composition called Conviction, which is the first tune on my recent album It Is What It Is, which is available on Bandcamp for download. And the inspiration for this chord progression came from Herbie Hancock's Maiden Voyage, which starts with a D9 13 sus going up to an F 9 13 sus. So both chords are the same type. They're both Mixolydian. Yes, and so my chord changes are a little different. I start on E flat sus and go down to C 7 13 sus. So again, it's the same type of chord, but it goes down a minor third. And that is only just the beginning. It goes a lot of other places. Let's have a listen to the recording, and we'll talk about it in detail. So the first thing is the pickup, which leads us to the beginning of the form. So the pickup is actually the final chord in the progression, which is D 13 sus, and it picks up to go to E flat 13 sus. So I really believe in building up solos. I see a solo as a story. It's not just playing notes. It's telling a story, and I think one of the most effective ways of building up a solo is to start out with less. So the first phrase goes up through the scale, starting on the 5th, and lands on the 9, which is the 9 of the E flat 7 chord. And then I play a 5th, which is the 13. So for me, both of those notes are interesting colours. And C is a common tone. It's in the E flat 13. It's also in the C chord, which comes after it. Then I play a third, and another third when it goes to E flat sus. So again, looking for common tones. So the idea of playing a third, it's called a motif. You can develop it, you can repeat it. My motif is going gradually down, and now it's time to do something else. So that phrase is just again a 5th and the scale. nothing wrong with playing a scale sometimes. And landing on the 13 of the E13 sus chord. Another 13. Okay, that's enough of that. Now we've got an eighth note pattern. Now that's often called a Coltrane pattern, meaning that John Coltrane played that sort of a structure often in his solo on giant steps. So the structure is 1, 2, 3, 5. Doesn't matter what note you start on in the scale. So at the moment we're in the D flat Mixolydian scale, which is doesn't matter where you start, but you keep to this thing of 1, 2, 3, 5, right, which are steps. And play it as long as you want. I played it twice, I think. Yes. There it is again. And now I'm landing on the 13 of the F chord. Patterns are important. They give us a structure. You know, when we're playing scales or using scales in our improvisation. That's a pattern based on thirds. Play it as long as you want. Thirds. And sometimes it's good to move on. Don't play the same stuff all the time. So at the beginning of a solo, I think it's okay to play quarter notes sometimes. Just make sure that you get a nice phrasing. In my line I've got short notes also. Ba, ba, da, da. Yeah, short and long. Okay, on the E flat there's a fourth and another fourth. So that's, if you put them all together, it's called a sus2 chord. Yeah, so I love fourths. This is also fourths. See? Fourths. Great sound. So, the E flat 13 sus chord you could also think of as a D flat major 7 over the E flat. So I'm just playing that arpeggio, going up another third, down the scale, landing on the 9, and another fifth. I love to play things like that on two strings. You stretch it a little, but then you've got a very nice separation of the single notes. You can do things like pull-offs and hammer-ons. Right. That's a bebop phrase, starting on the 13. Just down through the scale, da 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 da. So we've got quarter notes and eighth notes. The next phrase is called a pickup because the and 4 and of the phrase belongs to the chord that's still coming. So in this case it belongs to the D flat sus chord. And it sort of wanders around there. So that's where I'm landing the major third. It's a great note to play over a sus chord. Think of it as an extension. It's not in the chord, but it's definitely cool to play it over the top of the chord. Another arpeggio here is G flat major 7 on top of D flat. So that'll give you the 4 and the 13 and the major third. You could also play the sus chord with a major third in it. It sounds like this. Here I've used offbeats, trying to really build up now, and I found one effective way is to use offbeats, but long notes, not long quarter notes. And then my next pattern is back to the good old thirds. That's landing on the 13. You might ask, well, how do you know what you're going to land on when you're improvising a solo? Well, if you've practiced your arpeggios, you can hear a chord opening up. For example, in this case it's an E flat, so that's the note I'm talking about, the 13. That's where I wanted to land. So yeah, if you practice arpeggios, you'd be practicing that sort of a sound over the E flat sus. Not starting on the root note, starting on the 13 and going down. And that becomes a melody that you can remember, and so that's sort of what is going on. For me, everything that makes sense are melodies, and they might, if you analyze them, you might be playing a major 7 arpeggio or a triad, but there's still melodies. So again, using the 5th, on the C13, the same sounds, 13, 9. That's a D minor, pentatonic you could say, without, there's one note missing, but I think you get the idea, which is related to C13. It's D minor is C7 is the 5 and D minor is the 6. Now the next line on the E flat chord, little bit of chromaticism here, landing on the 9. Coltrane. Coltrane. I love it. So next one. So here I chose to play a very basic G triad with a 9. So that's playing simple, playing the G triad, which has basically no extensions, but the chord that's backing you up, played by the keyboarder in this sense, in this case, is definitely full of extensions. So, and then I continue the idea. So that's the E sus, and I'm playing. Love that sound. So it's adding the 2 to the major triad. Oh no, it's adding the 4, I'm sorry. That's the 2. Bit of Coltrane again, I guess. And important for me is if you're playing things that are on downbeats, da 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 da, you've got to play an offbeat eventually, otherwise it will sound really corny. So that's the typical B major 7 arpeggio, which gives you the whole lot of extensions on D flat 13 sus, B major 7. Another Coltrane thing happened here. Bebop. So again, landing on the 13. Pattern. Following down on one string rather than staying in one position because I like the sound of it. And you get a very good separation of the notes if you play on one string. Alright, now this is a B minor 7 arpeggio with an approach. And it makes up 5/8. Which of course doesn't fit in with 4/4, but that's the point. It's supposed to turn around rhythmically. The next pattern is based on the B flat major 7 upper structure on C9 sus. I like to play down here because that's where we worked our way down the string, and now we're in this position, and that's alright. You have to stretch a little. Now I'm going up to the E flat chord. That's just the scale, nothing spectacular. And now a pattern on the G chord. I think I've done that before. 2/8 notes, 1/4 note. Go up one string to get a good separation. Now we're up to the 13 on the E chord. Just the scale. But landing on a major 3rd again, it's for me one of the great sounds in jazz is playing the major 3rd on a dominant 7 sus chord. Now we've got a little pattern going up. That's the 6th. That's chromatic. Landing on the 4th of the F7 chord. So I'm getting quite high here. But that's alright because the solo is sort of gradually coming to an end. The arpeggio is the B flat major 7 a C minor 7 also. There's the major 7. Then on the D chord, it's basically a D triad. Again, landing on the major 3rd. I've done that a few times. So again, it's effective for me in playing offbeats. You know, it's a pattern again. And going down one string for the same reason that I did it before, good separation of the notes. So this is really getting towards the end now, and I chose to play a Coltrane pattern but reversed. It's been done before, I know, it's nothing original about it, but for me it's a good way of building up a solo. And I play it in a way that it becomes a 7/4, so and that means things get a little mixed up. And again, there's a pickup here because the 7/4 always ends too early. In, you know, if you look at it at 2/4/4 bars, the 7/4 is going to end on the beat 3 of the second bar. And if you do it over 2 bars, it'll end on beat 2. So you can see it in the transcription that there's this A there. And now the next one is a pickup to the E13 sus. Yeah, and I really got just the same idea. It's maybe a bit overdone, but again, I made that choice to do this, so yep, that's the way you go. And right at the end, that's a very common bebop line starting on the 9 and landing on the 9 of the D chord. Alright, so and the very last phrase there is stacking thirds on top of each other. Right? So that first structure is a A minor triad, C triad, and there it could have gone on to an E minor triad, but of course the song was over, so I didn't want to play more than just on the 1, which was the agreed stopping point for that solo. Okay, and I hope you're able to get some inspiration out of it, and also if you're able to go to Bandcamp and download my album, there's also a bonus there'll be some extra files there, all of the sheets, all of the PDFs of the tunes of the album, the scores, the parts of guitar parts and vibraphone and keyboards, electric bass drum parts. Yeah, so and I'll be updating that material as the weeks and months go by with things like this video transcriptions. So hope you time to have a look at that, and see you soon. Bye.